This is Ari Koretsky, and welcome to Jews You Should Know, introducing the broader community to interesting and inspiring Jewish men and women making a difference in our world. Some are already famous, some not yet so, but each is a Jew you should know. And we are back with another fabulous conversation, this week interviewing Doron Sheffer. Doron was a longtime Israeli basketball star who also started at the University of Connecticut and starred on some wonderful teams with Ray Allen, Danielle Marshall, and others, and has since gone on to live a really fascinating life beyond basketball, by which he has utilized his unique history and personal story to bring inspiration to youth and people of all ages around the world, and especially within Israel. Doron was engaged in a really wonderful spiritual odyssey that has culminated, although certainly is not concluded, but has found him reconnecting to his Jewish roots in a very profound way. And much of what he writes and speaks about is that powerful Jewish wisdom that he has found within what he calls the world of the Torah. I have to say I was very excited with my recall of mid to late 1990s NCAA basketball. That was very reassuring to me. I still have that. And all in all, it was a real treat to speak with Doron. Just a reminder to follow us on Instagram at Jews You Should Know, spelled out fully, as well as to like our Facebook page, also at Jews You Should Know. Twitter, Jews You Should Know, this time with a U instead of the word you. And finally, and most importantly, please click subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast so that future episodes will come right into your RSS feed, your podcast inbox. And now to our conversation with longtime basketball star and Jewish star, Doron Sheffer. And we are here with Doron Sheffer, a longtime basketball star at the University of Connecticut and an Israeli, as you'll shortly hear from his accent. How are you, Doron?
I'm good. Thank you very much. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. And Doron, let's dive right in. Tell us a little bit about where you're from, obviously from Israel, but where in Israel, and what was your upbringing like?
I'm from Ramat Efal. It's a neighborhood outside of Tel Aviv, close to Tel Aviv. Most of my life I grew up in Ramat Efal, in that small neighborhood.
What kind of a neighborhood was it? I imagine it was a fairly secular area?
Yes, it was a secular area.
Was there any Judaism in your life growing up, or was really not connected at all?
No, actually, my connection to Judaism, besides the fact we were celebrating the holidays and, on a very basic level, but my meeting with Judaism a little bit in a more deeper level when I was 3 years old until the age of 5 years old. We lived in Queens, in New York.
Interesting. Why?
Yes, my father had business in the U.S. and we moved for a few years. And my parents put me and my elder brother in Solomon Schechter kindergarten. So it's a religion kindergarten. And, I told my father years ago when I started to come back into Judaism and starting my tshuva process, I told them, look, you put me in a
it's your fault.
In religion, take responsibility.
Interesting. Now, when you were growing up, was your family very into athletics? Was that a big part of your childhood?
No. My grandfather that passed away, he was into sport, and he pushed me a little bit into that direction. But overall, my family wasn't into sports.
Interesting. So I guess you just started on your own playing?
Yes, it was a part of taking part of, the activities they offered us in our neighborhood, along with basketball and soccer and youth group. I took part, not with any thoughts or dreams to be one day a professional basketball player.
Right. By the way, where was your family from? Were they originally from, obviously not originally from Israel, but how many generations back? Were they immigrants? Were they there for a little while?
My father part were from Poland, East Europe. My mother part, a few generations are from Israel, but then before it was Russia, Luxembourg, also part of East Europe.
Was your father born in Israel, or he himself was born
Yes,
in?
yes, yes. My father and my mother were born in Israel.
Both born in Israel. Very nice. So as you were growing up, you started to play some sports in the community. Was it immediately clear that you were really good, that you were better than all the other kids? Was that like
Yeah,
right
yeah.
away?
It was. Yeah, I was. From day one, I was good, and it was for me kind of a love at first sight. But like I said, I wanted to keep it in a very basic level, not thinking about becoming a professional. Yeah, actually, I remember that if I knew what I don't want to be when I'll be older, it was a basketball player because of my height. I was always that tallest guy in class, and it made me feel uncomfortable a lot of time. Drawing all that attention. I even used to walk bend for a few years just out of that uncomfortable situation. I prayed, hopefully not to grow as tall, but in this case, God didn't listen to my prayers. Although a friend told me a few years ago, he said, "Look, Doron, if you wouldn't pray, think how tall you can become."
you know, I, I don't think that most kids can relate. My son loves basketball, and he's quite short. He's in seventh grade, and I think he prays all the time to grow taller so he can be
So,
more competitive.
yeah, each one has his own story. But in my case, I really grew up taller and taller, until 6'5", and what made the difference, in my perspective and think and thought about the game was at the age of 16, they invited me. I was so good, so invited me to play in the Israeli national youth team, the best 12 players until the age of 16 in Israel. I remember playing first time in the European Championship for youth in Spain. It was against the best teams and players in Europe in my age. And at that point, I realized that I'm competing against them as equal, and that was before I put any extra effort in the game. I never remember coming early before practice to work on my game or stay after, just playing on my natural talent and gift that I got. And at that point, I said, look, I should try and utilize that potential and try to see how far can I go.
Yeah. Was it only basketball that you played early on, or were there other sports that you enjoyed, in a serious way?
Yeah, all sports, but like I said, it was hobbies, soccer and tennis and ping pong, everything with the ball was good for me.
Did you excel at any of them, or was basketball really by far your best sport?
No, I was good at soccer as well, and everything I do with the ball I was good at, but I think in a certain level basketball I was a little bit better.
Yeah. Were you very, very competitive as a child, or were you very relaxed? Like, were you one of these kids who needed to win every game, like, ping pong and I don't know, anything?
Yeah, I was very competitive. I didn't know to accept second place. My mother tells me that when I came after losing, I used to cut her rugs at home, out of frustration, and it was really, how do you say, perfectionist, seeking for perfection, and this thing caused me a lot of suffering because, there's only one perfect, and he's not a human being, we
Yeah.
cannot be perfect. We're humans, and only God is perfect. I learned to be out of that inner challenge to find my peace, was learning to be peaceful also with my imperfection, knowing that, you cannot have it all, you cannot be perfect, it's not, we are humans, and learning that, not giving up, giving the best you can, but knowing to accept also, things that don't go always as you wish and want, and also not only accept them but embrace them and learning how to grow from them, and even from the losses, even from the failures, and that's something I feel today and know today, that it's much more mature and more holy way of seeing and dealing with life, because it's always with challenges, always things happen not as we want and wish. And it's important to remember, we have to try to do the best and to seek for the best and to aim for the best. But knowing, it's very important to know how to deal with those challenges along the way.
You think about like we just had the NCAA tournament. I'm sure you know in the States, recording here in April of 2019, and you see that a team that only one team will win, and the Virginia which won. I mean, 3 or 4 of their games were by like 1 or 2 points, so like they could have easily not won at any point. So if you only judge yourself by that final result, it's a recipe for a lot of disappointment in life.
Yes, it's a kind of, Mitzrayim, Egypt, you are a slave for the outcome, for the score, and we cannot control it, there's so many aspects, involved in the game, the referee and the other players and the fans, and, everybody wants to score every shot they take or win every game they play, but obviously we understand it's impossible, and if our happiness and joy and health and wealth, it depends on a basket that came in or out. It's not a good situation to be in. I'll tell you a story about Michael Jordan. Obviously, you probably know his story that at one point he retired the game and went to play baseball.
Yep.
So he didn't do well. He didn't play much, and the team lost. And when he played, he wasn't as good. And the media and the fans, laughed at him and wrote and being cynical why you left the game and how you're not doing well here and that. And I saw an interview with Michael, at a certain point after that season, and the guy asked him, Michael, how do you explain your failure in baseball? So Michael looked at him and he said, failure? What are you talking about? What failure? If I wouldn't try, that would be the failure. And it's a big and important message in life for all of us, for kids and adults as one, knowing that the best and the most important thing is us trying. We cannot control, we can practice, we can pray, we can see the video, do the best, but we cannot control that. We have to believe, but we have to understand that trying is the most important thing to put on, and when we do it, first of all, that's a victory for itself, and when we really do it without being afraid from what will be the outcome and not being a slave to the outcome, so then we can really fulfill our potential, because when you play out of fear and being nervous and afraid, what will be the score if I win or lose, they're going to applaud me or not, how many money I make or not. This is not so a good way to play the game. When you play out of the love of the game, really free to do your best without being afraid, that's usually when the outcome is also the best. But even if not, you already won a bigger game, and this is the game of life.
Beautiful. So now, Doron, you were 16 years old, playing on an international stage, playing with the Israel national team, the under 16, the junior team, if you will. And where did things go from there? I mean, you ended up not going a professional route in Europe, but actually coming, as far as I know, to the States to play college there. So how did things unfold for you once you started playing more seriously at that age?
So at the age of 18, I left home to the Galil, to the north part of Israel, playing in Hapoel Galil in the team, the best team in the north. I had a very, very special 3 seasons. The best season was really a season we won the championship. It was a kind of a miracle in the world of the Israeli basketball, because it was after that Maccabi won the championship for 23 years in a row. So imagine what special it was. The special story there regarding the rabbi from Lubavitch that was still alive and sent the blessing to the Galil. And really, really very special memories from that season and that year.
Who were the other top
Uh,
players on that team? Were there any other foreign players?
yes, yes, there were. I'm not don't know how familiar they are for the average American fans, but Andrew Kennedy, a very special friend and guy and player that played in Virginia College. If you were talking about,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, he played with us a few years, and then Brad Lee from Indiana, not in the Hoosiers, but another small college from Indiana. And Mike Gibson, I don't remember where he played before. Steve Malovic. There were 4 or 5 Americans that played with us that year. 2 of them became Israelis because they were in Israel for many years, and it was a very special season.
That's awesome. So then did you get noticed somehow by international scouts? Like how did you end up coming to the US?
Yeah, at that point, I did well also in the local league, and then in Europe when we played, and teams started to invite me to come and see and join their team. Also in Israel, also Maccabi Tel Aviv, and also in the US college teams. And then I wanted to change, even though I got offered a lot of money in Israel and a lot of fame and glory, and I wanted to change. I wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to play in college basketball, because it really was at that point that I have to make a decision. Otherwise, I would be too old to play in the university. And then I made that decision. I was recruited by a few teams. I came to the US to make a college tour, and I chose eventually UConn.
Why UConn? Did Jim Calhoun give you a really good pitch? What attracted you there? I mean, Storrs, Connecticut is not exactly the most enticing location.
Yeah, the truth is I wanted to go to Kentucky. That was the one of the teams that recruited me, and things didn't work well.
Pitino was at the time who was
Yeah, Pitino, yeah. And things didn't work well, and with some of the exams and their obligations, and it was too late to wait for another test. And then UConn was my second best option. Before me, Nadav Henafel played there, an Israeli guy. There was a good connection between coach, and you already knew about Israel, and Nadav had a lot of good things to say about Connecticut. And in many ways, it was the second best option, the situation, the players, the team. And, it was a very special 3 years at the University of Connecticut back then.
Did you maintain a relationship with Calhoun? I know he's gotten in some trouble over the years.
Yes, we are in, every time I come to the US, we try to talk. A few times we got to meet. He was in Israel a few times. Also with Ray Allen, I'm in touch, and some of the other players. It's not on a day-to-day basis, but once in a while when we get to speak and talk, and see each other, it's a family.
Yeah. Who were some of the other signature players? There was Ray Allen at your time. Who else?
Kevin Ollie became also NBA player for many years, and then the coach of Connecticut afterwards. Right. Travis Knight, Doniel Marshall, and Donnie Marshall. Some of them were more familiar, some less.
Daniel Marshall is definitely a name that I know. What were your playing days in Connecticut like? What was the experience like? Did you have any success during that time and as a team? And what were some of the great memories from that period?
First of all, it was a very special experience off the court as well as on the court, because leaving Israel, leaving my natural place of living, of being. So it's meeting a new culture, new people, new friends, and it was in many ways fascinating, curious. I was very curious about it. Then I at that point also a good thing that happened, that I realized that for me there's no place like home, like Israel. Sometimes only when you go far from somewhere you learn to appreciate it. So it was also a good thing that happened at Connecticut.
Yeah.
And on the court, a lot of good things. We have 3 magical years, and I was fortunate to be a part of them, playing the starting 5, being the rookie of the year my first season, winning. It was overall 29-12 record. In 3 years you conclude 3 biggest championships, regular season, and then biggest tournament season. On the NCAA, we made it to the Final 8 and twice to the Final 16. A lot of good things with a lot of great players and a lot of good memories.
Who were the great teams at that time when you were playing? Were there any great Duke teams, or who was the other big team?
The big teams, UCLA one year won the championship.
Was
with
that Tyus
Edney
Edney?
and the O'Bannon brothers. Yeah, they beat us on the Final 8 in
I
Oakland.
remember Tyus Edney had a basket-to-basket, like end-to-end layup that he hit in the second.
Yeah.
I remember watching that.
Not against
1995?
yeah. 95, 96.
I remember like it's yesterday.
Yeah. Then Iverson played in Georgetown in that year. Kerry Kittles and Villanova. The biggest was very strong as well. Marcus Camby and UMass. They were good players. That draft, I was drafted at the end of my 3 years. Was I think one of the best ever in the history of the NBA because from that draft many All-Stars players came out. Kobe Bryant was number 13 in that draft. He came out of high school.
High school, yeah, from Lower Merion.
Yeah, and Iverson was the first, and Stephon Marbury, and Ray Allen, and Steve Nash, and Antoine Walker. Many All-Stars to Stojakovic, Derek Fisher. So it became really a special draft, with very, very good players.
You'd have to say probably that Ray Allen had the best career of all of those, at least in terms of championships and everything.
Yes, definitely.
Even though Iverson was probably a more talented, player than Marbury. But anyway, so you were there in UConn, and then you got drafted in the NBA. Did you think that you were going to go to the NBA once you were playing in college? Did you have a sense that, wow, I could really make it?
After my first season, at the beginning, I didn't believe I'll be good enough. But after playing 1 year against, the best in college basketball and, competing them, in a fairly equal way. So I said, why not? Maybe I can make it as well. And I stayed another 2 years to try to give it my best shot.
Did the coaches encourage you? Did they think that you had it?
Yeah, of course. They believed and encouraged me.
Yeah. So where were you drafted and what position and so forth?
It was the second round, was number 36 pick by the Clippers. Bill Fitch was the coach back then.
You had to go into a deal with Donald Sterling, huh?
Yeah.
And did he have a lot to do with the team? Because I know the Clippers were known as a very poorly run organization for many years. And, of course, all the negative things that came out of all the scandals that came out with much later with Donald Sterling. What was that like?
Yeah, when I was drafted, they were really not a good team as they are today, and they were really one of the weakest team in the league. I was drafted when the roster was pretty much full. They wanted me to the summer camp, and I didn't do it there as well. And they told me, look, we're not going to release a player for you. Go to Europe, go to Israel, get some more experience, and try to come back. In the future, my agent tried to arrange some trade, but it didn't work out. So I came back to Maccabi Tel Aviv for 4 years, yeah.
And how did that work out? Did you guys do well?
Yeah, Maccabi Tel Aviv, we're back dominating the league after the Galil historical win. And we were winning back then 4 years. My 4 years there, 4 championships and 3 cups, and made it to the final of the European Championship Cup. They were good years. They were very, very special, very intense. Actually, at that point, what's starting to change in me during the years I played in Maccabi is I started to my energy and my will started to go to a new direction of seeking a spiritual journey.
Interesting. What prompted that?
Mainly basketball. As much as it brought blessing to my life, it also was a very, very intense place to be, and a lot of challenges, a lot of tense and pressure and fears and expectations that you can never fulfill from others, from yourself, and then it caused me a lot of to break down. Like Coach Pat Riley says once, when people confront crises. There's two kinds of people: either you break down or you break records. And what did to me those crises was, ignite inside of me a fire that seek to solutions and way to overcome my fears and my worries and I remember playing in the Galil. It was in kibbutz. Kibbutz, there's the big dining room that everybody eats together and know each other. I remember after we lost the games and I didn't play well, it was very hard to go and to eat with everybody. Each one has something to say, and some would be cynical and some would be angry. And I used to stay in my room with a lot of frustration. And, I remember that point, to look and seek for answers, how to deal with my spirit, my fears, my worries. And then it started slowly, a spiritual journey, reading a book, going to a clinic, and slowly become a bigger part of my life. And at a certain point, I felt that I want to go deeper and deeper in that journey and experience more life in different places, not only on the basketball court, and also deal with other things in my life that I believe that are not less and even more important. And at that point, after 4 years in Maccabi, at the age of 28, I was the peak of my career with a lot of still a few years of contract in Maccabi. I retired the game. It was a big shock to the basketball fans, and not only because it really was so strong that it affected a lot of people also that didn't understand basketball.
It's really interesting because you grew up in a very secular environment and you were playing basketball in Tel Aviv, which is generally a more secular city. How did you know where to look, and why was Judaism the outlet that you found? How did you even know to think about that?
It took time until I come back to my roots in Judaism and Torah. My spiritual journey started in India and in South America, and Buddhism, shamanism, and learning a lot, and meditating, and yoga, and different kind of tools and techniques of those wisdoms. And it helped me a lot along the journey. During that time, I was out of the game for 2.5 years. A year and a half after, I was discovered by cancer. A tumor, malignant is the one that is spread, right?
Malignant.
Yeah, malignant. And, I went through a very intense challenge dealing with a tumor, and I really, it accelerated my spiritual journey, because I took it not as in a way that I said, okay, let me do operation, take it out and continue my life as is. But it was important for me to understand the root of the problem. What's my part of the story? What I can learn and change and do in order to live in a much healthier, happier, and more balanced life. Because I said, if I'm going to take the tumor out of my body with an operation and continue and do the things that cause the tumor to become, so it will come back again. Like if you cut a branch from a tree, it will grow again. But if you go to the root of the tree, it won't grow. And that was my journey. I went what I'm, telling my story and my training camp for life, of life, that, I'm seeking for ways and tools and information and inspiration in order to take responsibility and change my life in a positive way in all aspects, on the physical level, on a mental level, a spiritual level. And it really caused me to change a lot of things regarding nutrition, and regarding, dealing with my fears and anxiety and faith and physical situation and mental situation. And it really caused me to experience a kind of rebirth, and becoming a much more healthier, aware, happier, and more balanced person than I am today. And at a certain point in my journey, after I already came back to play basketball afterwards, and experience.
So you were in after you retired the first time. You went to India and to the East, and the cancer was discovered while you were traveling?
No, when I came, actually the cancer was discovering in Israel. It was officially discovered, but actually in the U.S., I had an incident that, I understood that something is wrong and I should go and check it back in Israel. And then I went through, the journey to try and heal myself, take responsibility and grow from this situation. And then I came back and played basketball.
So after your first retirement, you came and played again? You joined basketball again?
Yes, I came back playing in Jerusalem. Actually had probably the best season in my life, winning the European Championship with the Port Jerusalem.
Wow.
Very special year. Yeah, it was a very special year and a very special story. And then 2 years after, I retired. 2 years after, in the Galil, where the team that I started playing at, and started a new chapter in my life.
So at what point was Judaism becoming more of the answer for you? Because it sounds like for a while it was more Eastern spirituality, meditation.
Yes, at a certain point, as much as I'm grateful for Buddhism and shamanism and things that I learned from, and still, practice a little bit in my life, but it wasn't enough for me, Something inside of me was still seeking, looking for more. And I find that more when I come back to the roots and the world of the Torah. I entered the yeshiva in Jerusalem, and I started to study and to pray, and my wife and myself to start to observe it and take the mitzvot, the Shabbat, the Kashrut, the Tahara. That point is very clear for me that I came back home, finding the Torah that is written in my language, connected to my country, to my people, to my DNA, to my soul. So it was very natural for me to come back home and see that, now there's something that, et chaim, the tree of life, something I can work with and something that can help me slowly, step by step, becoming a better person, and fulfill my true potential.
Were there mentors or people that you met that helped direct you to this destination? Or did you on your own know that the Eastern spirituality was not enough and you wanted, the Jewish connection?
Yeah, when I look today about my story and about life, so it's in the eyes of faith and knowing that there's one God, one mentor that takes care of everything and directs us exactly where we have to go and where we have to be. But they say God has a lot of messengers. So a lot of his messengers helped me along the way, people along the way that helped, gave me a good advice, good mirror. But all the way, I was always very much connected to my own inner voice and intuition in order to discover my special route.
Yeah. So you went to a yeshiva in Jerusalem?
Yes.
Where?
In Beit Vagan, Lithuanian yeshiva for Baalei Tshuva,
Okay.
Rabbi Ben Porat, and I've been there for 6 months, maybe more, and then moved to the north, and I've been through a few yeshivot along my journey.
When people heard that this is what you were doing, what was the reaction that this basketball player, basketball star, Maccabi Tel Aviv, Maccabi Hapoel Yerushalayim, becoming a little crazy about Judaism? I mean, how did people react?
Depends who you ask. They say 10 people, 10 opinions, and 10 Jews is even more opinions.
Yeah.
So it really depends. But I heard a lot of different kind of reaction of it. Some were surprised, some were in shock, some were happy, some were, jealous in a positive way, curious. And many people told me many different things. I read also, they were writing a lot about, my story and with different reaction. But I think mainly a lot of people really not only respect that, but really it gave them strength in their journey to make decisions in different kind of times and intersection in their life, to choose and not be afraid and worrying all the time what people say and, what people think. And until today, people write to me or tell me, when they see me in the street, look, what you did back then, I read your book, I've been in this and I heard your story, and it gives me strength to change my life to a positive direction. Not necessarily they have to choose the same thing, but, just the inspiration to help them. And I think this is something that, for me, give me a lot of strength to continue on my way and help other people as well, give them good inspiration.
Beautiful. You mentioned that you got lots of different reactions. What about your family? How did they react? You said earlier that you teased your father that it was his fault for sending you to a Jewish day school when you were in Queens as a 3-year-old. How did your family respond?
Yeah, my mother, as long as she saw me that I'm healthy and happy, it was enough for her. My father took the other side, that he was worried that, that it won't do good for me. And I first of all, I can understand him because you see people that enter the world of the Torah and put the yarmulke and the tzitzit and study, and not necessarily it does them good, The Chazal said that the Torah can be some chayim and some avet, You see a lot of time people that, they are apparently in the world of the Torah, but the history also tells us about kings and Talmidei Chachamim, Talmidei Rabbi Akiva, and many wise people that they weren't on the right path, and now we shouldn't take it for granted, What I find in the Torah, a very challenging world that we have to be very smart and wise and humble in order to walk safely in the world of the Torah and not get lost. It can be very confusing. But once it becomes, Sam Chaim, once we are fortunate enough to get the good and the purity out of the Torah, this is the best thing in the world, And then you see all those great rabbis and Rabbi Kook, Rabbi Mirubavitch, and obviously before, Baal Shem Tov, and Gaon Vilna, and until King David and all the great shepherds. So my father was worried. I can understand him, and for me it was a challenge to see how bad do I want it, and a bigger challenge is to see how I enter the world of the Torah and not losing my connections with my friends and family. And although at the beginning I had to get a little bit isolated, because it was a very intense time. But I think one of the biggest challenge for me in my tshuva journey and Torah life is seeing that as time is passing by, I'm becoming a better person with better values and more respect to my parents and more humbleness and more patience, and just seeing myself getting closer and closer to all the people around me, and not the opposite. Sometimes people go to the world of the Torah and they get isolated, and they, and don't look good about other people that don't live the way they live. So it's very important for me to see, and what I see, and my father also along the years, he feels more and more comfortable and happy about my decision, because he sees that, the Torah does good for me. So then he can relax, and then he sees today that I respect my parents more than ever.
It's beautiful. And I agree certainly that there are times where people feel that they need to cut off a part of themselves or a part of their past in order to embrace a new approach.
Yeah.
And reality is a much higher level is to be able to integrate one's past and to uplift people that you've known throughout your entire life and become a better friend, a better son, etc. So that's wonderful that you've been able to do that. At some point, it sounds like you wrote a book. Tell me about that process.
Yeah, I wrote 2 books already, and I'm, working on my 3rd and 4th. The first one is autobiography that I'm telling my life story until the world of the Torah. It's through the basketball game, the youth, the dealing with cancer, the spiritual journey into India and South America, and I stopped at the world of the Torah, and now I'm working about the continuation of the story with my wife. It's both of us in this journey together, and also all the intensity and all the beauty and all the danger, etc., in this life, and raising the kids, and the complex world of a Baal Tshuva, That's something you can take for granted, all this change and big challenges and big places to be aware and be careful. And, we hope to get that second book out and help people that are doing this journey to do it in a more balanced and happy way. And that's one of our goals.
What's the first book called?
Anani is from Psalms, from King David. Is saying, Mina metzar karati ya, Anani b'merchavia. Yeah, from the
answer me.
Answer me, God. Yeah, answer me. And for me, I feel along all my journey, God is answering me. It's interesting to see that Anani is a past sentence. Yeah, he already. The answer, what I understood is the answer is already there. We just have to discover it.
Right.
We're praying and asking for an answer about our health and wealth. And, one guy wants to get married and kids. So the answer is already there. We just have to discover. But definitely, it's very big motive that we see.
Has it been translated into English?
Not yet, unfortunately. The second book, I'm working now on the translation. The second book is The Game of Life. I'm writing for 6 years almost in a magazine for kids and youth, a column that, it's about I call it basketball with courtesy, stories from the game, from Connecticut, from Maccabi, from about Jordan, about me in the Galil, and then each story with something of education, something about a courtesy and good manners, and then connected to the world of the Torah. And it's short stories, and then each story with something to take for life. I call it the game of life. A beautiful gift, for youth, but not only, also for adults that love, not only for people that love sports even. And now I'm working on that, on translation. I hope to get it ready soon, and I can, many people from the US ask also about it, and I hope to get it ready soon.
So we have to translate the first one also. Nani also we have to translate.
Yes, it's true. Maybe you can help. I'm looking also how to do it in the best way. I'm not familiar also with the market in the US, but maybe we can talk about it later.
Okay. You mentioned your wife and her going on a similar journey. When did you meet her, and what was briefly her process?
I met her in Tel Aviv. She was working in a restaurant in the building I was living at. It was pretty much love at first sight. She was in her own spiritual journey. She was studying philosophy of Judaism. It's not halacha, but she loved to study, and she, when we met, she brought a lot of books into our house, and I was very curious about it. And at a certain point, I said, let's see how it works, how to live those thoughts on a day-to-day basis, and it's a very challenging journey because, when you come back to the roots, you make a tshuva process, it's always that you can never be on the same level, on the same page. Each one has his own journey with his own challenges, and it's very important to remember that and to give space, to respect the other. Obviously, in some issues, we have to find the answer for both of us, regarding the kashrut at home or educating the kids. But a lot of things, individual things, it's important to give the space. I remember the few times in our journey, that the house almost got broken, because of that misunderstanding of what's really important. And unfortunately, the Torah, and God, showed me very clear that, Shlom Bayit, our home is Kodesh Kodeshim, is sacred, and I have to take care of it and make sure my wife will be happy and not worried about my process and not, becoming too strict about if she does this or that. And unfortunately, we're together, still, rejuvenating, still together and growing in this journey with our 4 kids.
Doron, take us up to date. What are you doing today? Are you still involved with basketball? What are you doing professionally? Where are you living? What's in your life today?
Okay, I'm married the second time. I have an elder daughter from first marriage. She's 70 years old, and we have here. I live in the north part of Israel. It's Moshav Amirim, near Meron.
You were married once before, Doron?
Yeah. I was married once before, got divorced, and I have. She lives in Tel Aviv, my elder daughter. And then 4 kids here in the north with me. Moshav Amirim, it's near Tzfat, near Tiberia, near Meron. Very, very special, very green, a lot of nature. And what I do, basically, I do a lot of things that are all connected to education, to health, to natural health. Also, basketball I take today as an educational and therapeutic tool. I work a lot with kids and youth. And also with the adults, and take it as as an example for the game of life. Through the game, I teach them a little bit about the game, but mainly show them something much bigger, and through the game, you can learn everything you want about life, dealing with challenges, with success, overcome crises, and working together as a team, and et cetera, et cetera. And, I say today the sport is a kind of the religion of the year 2000 with so much power to influence people. So I try to do it today I believe I influence and touch people in a much important and deeper way than I did back then when I played, when I, scored another 3 points or win another game. So for me, it's a much bigger satisfaction today.
So are you doing clinics? Are you doing basketball clinics? Are you doing speaking?
Yeah. Basketball clinics. They invite me to teams, to neighborhoods, with kids, and some kids come to me to play one-on-one and to to hear stories, to get the book in a gift with a gift, and get a little bit deeper and more important perspective about the game, and about life through the game. And then, other than that, I lecture all over Israel and all over the U.S. and around the world about my life story that touches a lot of people from age of 13, different backgrounds, no matter religion, non-religion. I go to prisons, students, soldiers, kibbutzim, high-tech people, managers, really, because it's a story, it touches everybody and everybody can find them in that story. And it's very, for me, a big privilege, I feel, to meet people, the Jewish people, Israeli people, also not non-Jewish, but anyway, mainly. And then, I come and feel a very strong connection and privilege to do what I do. I'm also a coacher, life coacher, so my wife and myself, we both also treat people, and we have a small natural health center in Amirim that people come to go through processes, either out of being ill or just to rejuvenate, I said to give them good nutrition to the body, the mind, and the soul. So we also do that, and like I said, I'm writing, and there's not a dull moment. Obviously, I try to start my day with Torah and praying, and starting giving food to my soul, and then continue and try to give back.
How's your game today? You still got some skill today?
Yeah, it's very, it's like riding bicycle, but it's for me, it's enough here in the neighborhood. We have a startup, we play the game without counting. And, people at the beginning say, so if you don't count, why play the game? But it's amazing. We just play. We come to sweat, we come to be together, to get loose. And that's the important thing, when you get counting, so a lot of times, unfortunately, you fall to jealousy and to violence. And even in the neighborhood, I've been in different situations and get injured. And, we just keep it simple, like the Rambam said, play with the ball, have fun, enjoy. Sweat a little bit and continue.
Do you still dominate the local pickup games?
Yeah, it's easy here. It's easy.
There's no competition, huh?
but we don't count, so it doesn't matter.
You don't keep score. Just
no score. There's only one winner. Only God is the winner. we all work for Him.
On my next trip, I'm gonna have to come up there and see if you can take me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Very much welcome.
I'm very scrappy. I don't know, I'm not 6'5" though. Mm-hmm. Doron, what have you not yet accomplished that you still want to accomplish? Are there certain projects or dreams that you want to still take care of?
We want the prophecies to get through. This is the time that will be peace and love and happiness. And Israel will do the thing we came to do here. After we came back 2,000 years to Israel and we built a beautiful country. It's now the time to really get together and set an example for the world for living peacefully together. Fortunately, I'm saying it in the day after the election that you see how much we are divided. But I think our goal and our challenge and our destiny is to get united and do what we came to do and set an example to the world because, we have everything. It wasn't 2,000 years, Israel wasn't so abundant as far as food. You see what was 50 years ago, 80 years ago, the Holocaust and poverty and we don't no country, no place to be. But now we're missing the important part, the spiritual part, the part of being happy, being together, being respectful to each other and working together for a bigger vision to all of us.
Well, Doron Sheffer, it is an honor to speak with you and to hear how you are playing such a significant role in bringing about that better vision, a remarkable life story, a basketball story, but really much more a Jewish story. And we're so grateful that you've shared that with us and hope that you continue to have amazing success in spreading your light and your dreams to the people of Israel and the Jewish people at large. Doron Sheffer, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. All the best to all of you.
This has been Ari Koretsky on Jews You Should Know. Please visit us at JewsYouShouldKnow.com and subscribe at iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you consume podcasts. Find us on social media at Jews You Should Know. If you'd like to become a supporter of this podcast, we would greatly appreciate that, and you can do so by visiting patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Jews You Should Know. Finally, if you have enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review so that we can continue to grow and introduce many more people to Jews You Should Know.